can't shut it down. Looks like he's turned over control to the other side. You'll have to go into the core and do what you can. Get in the elevator and I'll let you in. Don't forget to charge up your suit. Do your worst, Gordon. But be careful.
When we ended part 1 of our complete recap of Half-Life's story, Gordon had just arrived at Nova Prospekt to rescue Resistance members, including Dr. Eli Vance, from the Combine prison. In part 2, we'll be covering the events of the rest of Half-Life 2, as well as the events of Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Soon after Gordon arrives at Nova Prospekt, he encounters Alyx Vance once again, and this is when things begin coming to a head, as Half-Life 2 barrels on towards its final act. Gordon and Alyx learn that the Resistance member Dr. Judith Mossman had actually been a traitor to their cause all along, and that her loyalties actually lay with Wallace Breen. The two of them immediately set out to look for Eli, and finally they're able to track him down, finding themselves in a face-off against Mossman, who has Eli with him. Mossman tricks Gordon and Alyx and uses a teleporter, teleporting herself and Eli out of Nova Prospekt and into the Citadel and City 17. Realizing that they have no choice but to follow her, Gordon and Alyx jump into the teleporter as well, hoping to safely arrive at Dr. Kleiner's lab, which is also in the city. They do arrive at the lab, but learn soon after that their teleportation did not go as smoothly as they would have hoped. As it turns out, the two of them have been stuck in a teleportation loop for a week, and have only now managed to safely get to Kleiner's lab. The malfunctioning teleporter exploded behind them, causing the complete obliteration of Nova Prospekt, and this, in turn, triggered even more fateful events. The destruction of the prison was, of course, noticed by all in City 17, and taken to mean different things by the people there. The Combine viewed it as an attack on themselves, while the Resistance viewed this as a signal to begin an uprising against the Combine. For the past week, the two sides have been locked in a furious conflict against one another, and City 17 has turned into a veritable war zone. Gordon and Alyx split up at this point, with Alyx deciding to help Kleiner escape City 17, and Gordon meeting up with the Resistance member Barney to lead a battle against the Combine's forces. Alyx eventually returns, and almost makes it back to Gordon and Barney, but before they can be reunited, she is taken captive by the Combine. Gordon manages to break through the Combine's defenses and infiltrates the Citadel, where he continues to fight their forces for a while. Eventually, though, he is captured by their forces as well and put into a Combine pod. The Combine take him to the office of Breen, where he and Mossman are awaiting his arrival, and where Eli and Alyx are also being kept, both in pods similar to Gordon. However, a fateful change of heart in Mossman proves to be what saves their skins. Dr. Mossman, as it turns out, has been growing increasingly regretful of her actions, and had thrown her lot in with the Combine more out of a sense of deep fear and desperation than any real loyalty. When Gordon arrives at Breen's office, Breen tells him that all 3 prisoners will be taken to Combine Overlord, a world dominated completely by the Combine, which might also possibly be their homeworld. Mossman interjects at this point, protesting against Breen's actions and plans, but when she is brushed off, she finally intervenes. With her help, Gordon, Alyx, and Eli are set free. Breen panics and runs off, heading to the top of the Citadel where he plans to use a dark energy reactor to teleport to Combine Overlord himself. Gordon gives chase, fighting his way through Combine forces as he does so, and finally catches up with Breen. And just as Breen is about to go through the portal, Gordon uses his gravity gun on the reactor, making it explode. The deadly explosion, which surely would have killed Gordon and Alyx, both of whom were right next to it, is cut short. Well, sort of. The mysterious and enigmatic G-Man arrives on the scene, and instantly he literally freezes time. He congratulates Gordon, praising him yet again for his actions in City 17, and cryptically tells him that he has interesting offers for Gordon's services. G-Man places Gordon in stasis yet again, and leaves the scene through a doorway made of light. On this cliffhanger, Half-Life 2 ends. Half-Life 2, Episode 1, however, picks up almost immediately afterward. Sort of. And now that's what we're going to talk about.
Dog, I think I found something. my God! Gordon! I was so worried.
As episode 1 begins, Gordon and Alyx are on top of the Citadel, with time still frozen. Several Vortigaunts appear and take Alyx away, rescuing her from the explosion that surely would have killed her the moment time resumed. G-Man soon appears once again, walking back into the scene through another door of light, but as he's walking towards Gordon and opens his mouth to say something, another group of Vortigaunts appear and places itself between Gordon and G-Man. G-Man is visibly angered, but before much else can happen, the Vortigaunts surround Gordon and teleport him away, removing him from the stasis as well. When Gordon awakes, he finds himself buried under a pile of rubble right outside of the Citadel, but Alyx and Dog quickly come to his aid. Dog digs Gordon out of the rubble, and after their reunion, Alyx contacts Eli and Kleiner to tell them that he is safe. During this communication, however, Kleiner relays some grim news to the two of them. He tells Alyx that as a result of the explosion on top of the Citadel's core is in danger of exploding at any moment, and that explosion would be a catastrophic one, easily enough to level all of City 17. He tells Gordon and Alyx that they need to head back into the Citadel and somehow slow the core's reaction down, delaying the explosion long enough to provide enough time for survivors and refugees in City 17 to escape the blast radius. Eli voices his displeasure at the plan, reluctant to let his daughter head back into yet another dangerous situation, but seeing no other option, he agrees. And so, Gordon and Alyx head back into the Citadel. While they're there, they come across a recording of Breen's last communication, moments before Gordon caught up with him on top of the Citadel, with a Combine advisor. Advisors, by the way, are the masterminds that orchestrated and carried out the Combine's invasion of Earth, and are often speculated to be the master race of the Combine's empire. The conversations recording that Gordon and Alyx watch seem to suggest that Breen somehow managed to survive the explosion, and made his way through the portal to an unknown location with a harsh and inhospitable environment, where he might have reluctantly intended to survive through the means of a host body. Alyx and Gordon head deeper into the Citadel, and manage to re-engage the reactor's containment system, thus delaying the explosion. They discover something else as well, though. It turns out the Combine are actually vying for the Citadel to explode, because they intend to use that explosion to send out a message to the Combine's empire in an effort to get backup forces, with which they intend to quell the resistance and re-establish complete control over Earth. They also come across a transmission from Dr. Judith Mossman, who seems to be in an icy environment north of City 17. She mentions that she and her team had discovered a project that might prove to be useful in their fight against the Combine, but her transmission is cut short when the Combine forces attack her base, forcing her to flee to safety. Alyx makes a copy of the message to show Eli and Kleiner. Clearly, though, it's a message the Combine don't want the Resistance to know about, because knowing that Alyx and Gordon have the message with them, the duo become their primary target yet again, and the Combine redouble their efforts to hunt them down, even in their disorganized state. Alyx and Gordon then get aboard a Razor train in the Citadel and use it to escape back into City 17. The train gets derailed soon, however, leaving Gordon and Alyx stranded in the remains of the city and with no choice but to continue onward on foot and look for another way out of the city. During this time, a message from Kleiner tells them that the suppression fields the Combine had used to stop humans from reproducing were down. Meanwhile, the pair also witnessed the destruction wrought upon the city, which is now infested with Combine and zombies. Eventually, the two of them meet up with Barney Calhoun once again, who tells them that he's about to lead a group of refugees to another train station to escape from City 17 before the Citadel core explodes. With the Combine still in pursuit of them, however, Gordon and Alyx decide to stay behind and lead them away, allowing Barney to lead the group of refugees safely toward the train station. After successfully drawing the Combine away from the refugees and making their way through an abandoned hospital, among other places, Gordon and Alyx reunite with Barney at the train station once again. But once Barney and the citizens are aboard, the duo once again decides to stay behind and lure the Combine away to allow the refugees to safely escape the city. After a grueling battle against overwhelming Combine forces, the two of them manage to program another train and board it as it barrels out of the city. The Citadel, however, finally blows, destroying City 17, and the resulting explosion and devastating shockwaves send huge chunks of debris and wreckage flying out in all directions. Several pieces of wreckage hit the train Gordon and Alyx are on, while another shockwave overtakes the train. The screen fades out, leaving their fates up in the air, with yet another chapter in Half-Life's story ending on a cliffhanger.
Now, Listen carefully, my dear. When you see your father, relay these words. Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
As episode 2 begins, we discover that the Shockwave's explosion caused the train to get derailed. Yes, again. Alyx and Gordon regain consciousness in the wreckage of the train in the mountains to the north of City 17, but even from this distance, they can see the smoldering remains of the city and what the Citadel's explosion did. City 17, of course, is completely gone, but more importantly, the Combine also succeeded in sending out their transmission calling for reinforcements. A super portal has opened up in the sky right above the spot where the Citadel once stood, while portal storms broil all around the portal. Alyx informs them that they need to get to White Forest, which is a resistance base to the north of City 17, where, by the way, Kleiner and Eli went after they left the city. Soon, Gordon and Alyx manage to get their hands on some communication equipment and establish contact with White Forest, where Eli and Kleiner are relieved to know that they're still alive. During this communication, Gordon and Alyx also speak with Dr. Magnuson, the abrasive and egotistical head of White Forest Base, who is also a former Black Mesa scientist and holds a grudge against Gordon for some pretty ridiculous reasons that involve an exploding microwave casserole, and don't ask. More importantly, Magnuson, it seems, is more concerned with something in Alyx's possession than he is in ensuring her and Gordon's safety. That something is the copy of the transmission from Mossman that Alyx made in the Citadel, because that data packet, as it turns out, also contains some data that might prove to be vital in the Resistance efforts to fight back against the Combine, which would explain why the Combine so desperately want to make sure that the message doesn't get into the Resistance's hands. And so, Gordon and Alyx set out for White Forest. They are, however, attacked soon afterward by a large mechanical beast known as the Combine Hunter, and the resulting battle critically wounds Alyx. A Vortigaunt arrives just in time, luckily enough, and lends a helping hand to Gordon and Alyx and is able to stabilize her. Following this, though, Gordon is forced to take a pause from proceeding onward toward White Forest, as part of his attempts to actually heal Alyx completely rather than just keeping her stabilized. He manages to do so eventually, but while the actual progress of Vortigaunt's healing Alyx is going on, Gordon is contacted once again by none other than the enigmatic G-Man. G-Man tells Gordon that he had probably been unable to contact him up until now because of interference by the Vortigaunts. He then proceeds to tell him that Alyx's survival is crucial to his plans, also telling her that he ensured her survival during the Black Mesa incident 20 years ago, despite direct objections from an unnamed third party, hinted to be Breen. Finally, he asks Gordon to safely escort her to White Forest, while also telling an unconscious Alyx to relay a message to her father from him, and to tell him to prepare for unforeseen circumstances. The Vortigaunts are able to properly heal Alyx, and her and Gordon soon resume their journey to White Forest. After a long and arduous journey that sees them covering a large distance, overcoming many obstacles and hurdles, and having more than a few encounters, run-ins, and close calls with the Combined forces, the duo finally manages to safely reach White Forest. Alyx and Gordon are reunited with Kleiner, Eli, and Dog, and meet Magnuson in person as well. They're told that the Resistance plans on launching a rocket from the White Forest base, and that they plan to use that and Alyx's data packet together. And together, both those things in conjunction with the satellite Gordon launched from the Black Mesa research facility 2 decades ago during the Black Mesa incident can be used to close the super portal above the ruins of City 17. Meanwhile, Eli and Kleiner successfully decode Mossman's transmission and discover that the project she was referring to in her message is the Borealis, a vessel created by Aperture Science. Yes, that Aperture Science. The Borealis has been speculated to contain extremely powerful technology of unknown nature, and mysteriously went missing many years before. Kleiner is ecstatic about the discovery, and says that the Borealis and whatever it carries can be used to fight against the Combine. Meanwhile, Eli, who clearly knows more about it than others do, is reluctant to do so, and says that using it would lead to another devastating incident on the scale of the Resonance Cascade that occurred at Black Mesa 20 years ago. Instead, what Eli wants to do is head north and look for and rescue Dr. Judith Mossman. But he's a smart guy, and he realizes that should he fall captive to the Combine, the amount of knowledge he has about everything to do with the Resistance would put everyone's lives in danger. Alyx promises him that instead she and Gordon will head north and look for Mossman. Kleiner leaves to help Magnuson with preparations for the launch, and promptly afterward, G-Man rears his head again. He appears on a screen behind Alyx, and almost hypnotically she delivers the message she was told to deliver to her father: prepare for unforeseen circumstances. Eli is shocked, more than just a little taken aback by what happens, but he manages to excuse himself from the room. Outside, away from Alyx, he has a talk with Gordon. He tells him that he too is familiar with the G-Man and reveals some startling revelations. Eli reveals that it was G-Man who had delivered the sample that had led to the Resonance Cascade in Black Mesa many years ago, and right before that interdimensional rift had opened up, he had appeared to Eli and uttered a very familiar message in his ears: prepare for unforeseen circumstances. He expresses his regret at not having stopped Gordon from inserting the sample into the spectrometer back then, and his worry over the apparent control G-Man seems to have over Alyx. More importantly, though, he also figures that G-Man's message is a warning against the Borealis, and grows ever more convinced that it must not be used, that it must instead be destroyed. Their conversation, however, is cut short. Though the Resistance is very close to launching the rocket with Alyx's data packet, the White Forest base is attacked by a large force of Combine. Eli tells Gordon that he will elaborate more about the Borealis, its nature, and whatever it is that it carries later, given that they have more pressing things to attend to right now. Gordon fends off the attacking Combine, defeating their forces, and the Resistance successfully launches the rocket with the data packet. The super portal is closed, trapping the remaining Combine forces on Earth and cutting them off from the rest of their empire, and most importantly, also cutting them off from any possible reinforcements. Alyx then tells Gordon that she's found and fixed up an old helicopter that they can use to fly north to look for Mossman and get to the Borealis. As they prepare to depart, however, in the final fateful moments of Episode 2, things go wrong, as they often do for our heroes. The helicopter hangar is attacked by Combine advisors. They pin Gordon and Alyx using their telekinetic powers, and kill Eli, also probing his brain. Soon, however, Dog comes to their rescue, and the mechanical pet fights off the advisors, sending them scurrying and freeing Gordon and Alyx from their hold. Alyx crawls to her father, and while she's crying over Eli's lifeless body, the screen fades to black. And this, mother of all cliffhangers, is how Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ends. That would be fine if we had any other resolution to the story, but it's been over a decade since Episode 2 first came out, and so far, this is the last that we've seen of Half-Life. Half-Life Alyx will soon be upon us, and even though, given that it's a prequel that takes place between the first two games, it still won't give us the resolution to this cliffhanger that we've been waiting for years and years, and a few more on top of that. Valve have given fans assurances that this is no mere spin-off. This is the next big Half-Life game, and that, in and of itself, is an exciting prospect. A major new Valve game, one that promises to utilize the full potential of VR, and a full-fledged Half-Life entry to boot? I mean, yes please. We absolutely cannot wait to get our hands on it, and thankfully, it'll be here very, very soon. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.